All right, we're here with former Dallas Cowboy and broadcaster Daryl Johnston. How you doing, man?
I'm awesome. How you doing?
I'm telling you, this Radio Row is something, man. It's a who's who, and it's incredible the amount of former athletes and coaches that are walking around here giving interviews.
Today's been different. We were here Tuesday, Wednesday. Today is very, very different. I mean, the number of guys that you saw, to your point, I mean, Drew Brees, Bob Woodson.
Joe Montana today?
I didn't see Joe.
Yeah,
Steve Atwater. Yeah, so it's been awesome. Today's been great.
You obviously played against the Eagles for a long time, and what are your fondest memories of that big game, that big matchup?
Yeah, they were the last team that we beat in the division. So for us, for our era, that's really our rival. Everybody always talks about Cowboys, Redskins, but for that time, it was always Philadelphia. They were the last team we beat. We played against those great defenses. It was always a really tough battle. So, for us, and then just the vet, it's unique. It is really unique.
700 level.
Oh, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And then you put the visiting fans in the 700 level.
Yeah.
So, my father-in-law, God bless him, he wore silver and blue into the 700 level.
Wow.
At 60 years old, and there was no sympathy from the Eagles fans.
Years later, you're now a broadcaster, and you've called a lot of Eagles games over the years, and specifically this team. What do you see with this matchup, Kansas City Chiefs, Eagles, to Super Bowl 59?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is going to be, obviously, the big matchup that's out there. I think it's going to be the first domino that tips to kind of see how this game's going to go. But the run game of the Philadelphia Eagles versus the run defense of the Kansas City Chiefs. Some great stuff on both sides. So it's a strength versus a strength. Obviously, Saquon, 2,005 yards rushing during the course of the regular season, 200-yard games through the playoffs. But then you look at Kansas City. They haven't given up a 100-yard game to a running back all season long. Lamar had 122 on him in the opener, but that's quarterback.
Right.
The highest total is 88 by Mixon in the divisional round. And a new one that I got today is Steve Spagnuolo has never had a 100-yard rusher throughout his playoffs since he's been in Kansas City. So those are your two strengths, and I think it's going to be the way that Philadelphia wants to function. They've been so good when Saquon gets rolling, and that offensive line is awesome. So what does Kansas City do to stop that? I don't think they can line up and go toe-to-toe with the offensive line. So what people used to do to us back in the day is they had just subtle stunts, just a little bit, like a half of a shade, and it was choreographed, and all of them were moving. A lot of times they moved against the flow that we were going to go in, and that gave our big guys up front a little bit of a problem. We had to learn and adjust to that, and can they do that to Philadelphia? Would that bother that offensive line? And even if it does for a while, Stallin's going to figure it out pretty quick.
Yeah, he's doing a great job. Let's talk about the officials, because there's been a lot been made about the officiating with the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, they've been getting a lot of calls going their way. Do you think it'll have an effect on this Super Bowl?
I'm from Buffalo, so there's two fan bases that are very, very similar, and that's the Buffalo fan base and the Philly fan base. I mean, Buffalo lost their minds. I had to talk my nephew off the ledge. I had to talk my cousin off the ledge. I think what people forget in that game, everybody wants to go to the fourth down catch. Everybody wants to go to Josh Allen on fourth down, and those are obviously the big plays. And I think there's reasons why the play was called the way it was called. I just wish the NFL would do what we do in the UFL, and that's allow a Mike Pereira or a Dean Blandino to tell you the why. Here's why. You may not agree with what we're going to say here, but here's the why, just so you're okay with it. And I think that both of those had a really good why that just doesn't get explained on television. But if you go back to that game, there was a false start by Buffalo when they were on the 2-yard line. There was a neutral zone infraction by Ed Oliver on a key sack. So there's some things, it goes both ways, but when they're big plays like they were in that game, you really start to focus on that, and then you create that theory that, hey, Kansas City's getting all the calls.
Right, it's a little bit more palatable during the regular season, but when you get into the playoffs and into the Super Bowl game, it impacts the game.
Yeah, you don't want another immaculate reception.
That's true.
What the hell was that?
Yeah. Well, listen, Daryl, I really appreciate you taking time with us. And you have family that lives back east.
I do. My wife actually grew up in Philadelphia. She grew up on the northeast side. We got a place down at the shore.
I know you're a local. You say down the shore.
Yeah.
At the beach.
Yeah, we've been taking our kids there since they were little. So, we love it up there. So it's a secret that we keep in Texas. We don't tell anybody down in Texas.
I'll tell you what. You come to see me in Ocean City, I'll get you all the rides. If you have youngsters in your family, we'll get them on the rides at Playland in Atlantic City.
Yeah, Yeah, but we have to have our cocktails before we get there,
okay,
right?
You got
the dry boardwalk.
All right, Daryl, thank you so much.
Hey,
we really
are we
appreciate
going to do a prediction? Because you're going to like my prediction.
Well, I was reluctant to ask you because a lot of people don't like to give predictions. But if you want to, here we go.
They don't.
Well, I've asked a lot of people, in my interviews today. A lot of people say I don't give interviews or I don't give predictions. But if you want to,
I know. I mean, nobody's going to get it right. But I did predict overtime last year. I didn't get the winner, but I had overtime. So I am going to go with Philadelphia by 10.
Wow.
Because they will do everything they possibly can not to allow Patrick Mahomes to have the opportunity to win the game at the end. And the only way you do that is by making it a 2-possession game the entire game. It stays at 2 possessions.
Right.
So you continue to make your decisions based on how do we get to 2 possessions? How do we get to 2 possessions? And sometimes that might mean taking a field goal on a 4th and short that the fan base may want Nick Sirianni to go for. But as long as he maintains that 2-possession lead and doesn't allow Patrick to steal it at the end.
Well, I hope you're right.